Oh my God, I finally got it. Jeez.
All right.
Nobody looked directly
Only my
at it.
100th
It may
time.
explode.
Yeah. Don't touch it.
So
it'll
my
fall.
family used to have a 63-acre farm. Used to, like, as in, like,
Go mic check, Mark.
a long
right.
time ago. When it was still New Amsterdam. It was still part of the Netherlands. And
Oh, wow.
the farm was from Wall Street all the way through Tribeca, Soho, and
wow.
Greenwich Village. That was our family farm.
Some good real estate.
You could just get in there and say, we used,
And it was
to own this.
it was
town."
yeah, it was like taken by the Anglican Church when the English came in.
Check. Check, Jerry. Can you hear me? Okay. Josh is on
Check.
two.
Check.
Oh, sorry.
Brandon's
I
on
spoke
three.
too early. Brandon.
Yep. Awesome. Woo. Jeez. Okay, what were you guys talking about? I missed it all.
We were talking about how we own New York.
Yeah, all of New York.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, it's actually really funny because my grandfather used to talk about it. I just thought it was like the crazy, old man. And then, the Ancestry.com sort of thing came up, and I'm like, holy shit! All this stuff. My family, they actually went to the Supreme Court in the 30s, still trying to fight over it.
Oh my gosh.
Is that crazy?
Yeah.
So it was like, it was kind of like the decision was kind of like, yeah, but what are you gonna do about it now?
Right?
You realize
It was like the sale was illegal, but like the original sale was illegal or whatnot. But
you
like,
realize
we're not going to just
one
hand
court-
over
yeah.
downtown New York City.
Yeah.
So
Fair choice.
yeah. But and then also there's probably so many, when they follow those trees out, there's probably 100,000 of us telling the same story.
Yeah.
You gonna make it?
No. Jeez Louise.
I feel better now. I was scrambling to get here. I was like, oh.
I'm falling apart. Did you want some water? I can get you water then.
I'd love some water. Probably should have grabbed that. I thought it was like, I actually thought I was like, oh, I'm gonna have time for coffee, and I was like, okay, no, never mind.
Well, actually, I have coffee in the break room too. So.
Okay, all right, cool.
Coffee, water, maybe even tea. Okay. All right. What contact info? Phone number?
Oh yeah,
email?
so theurbanhive.com
Okay. Okay.
and sacramento.io and tedxsacramento.com, which is actually nothing much up there until we do our big event.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Beyond the Numbers on Monday 105.5 FM. Mark Bellows here, tax principal with Clifton Larson Allen national CPA firm. With our regional headquarters here in Roseville. I work with manufacturers, distributors, real estate investors and developers, contractors and the like, some service type businesses. I usually work with the businesses and their owners. Just got through tax season. So
Congratulations.
Thank you, my co-host today, Josh Corell with Tri-Counties Bank.
morning.
What did Tri-Counties Bank do this morning?
Well, today was a great day. We're celebrating 25 years listed on the NASDAQ, and our president and CEO, Rick Smith, rang the opening bell.
It's exciting.
Live in
You're-
Times Square.
Came in and Josh is watching. And our guest today, Brandon Weber. Good morning, Brandon.
Good morning.
Thank you. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, glad to be back.
Thank you. Oh, great. Me too. All right. So, anyway, I'm trying technologically, everything fell apart as we were trying to get ready. My phone fell off. I couldn't get my headset working. I don't know. Maybe it's the day after tax.
It was fun to watch.
Yeah. Thanks. I didn't break a sweat.
Just need a scotch, and you'll be fine.
I love the pressure.
Yeah. So, just anyway, tax days today was supposed to be yesterday, but the IRS freaked out or the computer system crashed or something. So, probably the Russians,
Oh, yes. Well, they say to err is human, but to really screw things up takes a computer.
Yeah,
There you go.
I think so. So, Josh, what's new with you?
We're looking on completing a transaction to buy First National Bank of Northern California, headquartered out of San Francisco.
Okay.
So that'll make us about a $6 billion community bank.
That's great. How does that rank in size with other community banks in town?
That'll make us up there as one of the largest community banks in Northern California.
Wow. Wow.
And we're large because we cover 29 counties. So we cover from Bakersfield to the Oregon border and now into the Bay Area. So
Tri-Counties Bank, which used to cover 3 counties, now covers 29.
The Tri is now Northern, Central, and Southern California.
Wow, there we go.
That's great.
So it worked out nice, but we still inject ourselves into every community. You know, the business model hasn't changed.
Right.
How we operate in Sacramento as far as being active in the community and helping out is the same thing we do in Bakersfield, same thing we do in Redding, and now the same thing we'll do in the Bay Area.
And what types of businesses, remind our listeners, that you typically work with?
I work with small to medium-sized business owners, typically, you know, $10 to $50 million in the revenue range. When I say small and medium-sized, that's the size of the ownership group. So typically not publicly traded, but smaller in that respect. And we look to provide them a banking relationship that they can grow with as they grow their business. So whether it's starting with a line of credit, then maybe their goal is to buy commercial real estate. You know, we want to sit down with them, find out what their goals are so we can line up their plan. So once they find that building, they're just ready to move right into it. It's not coming to the bank and saying, okay, what do we do now? You know, we've already got the game plan, everything's lined up, and they can just continue to move forward.
Okay. And there's a lot of businesses out there that in that range. There's a lot.
And there are a lot of businesses right now in the local economy doing really good things, are having a lot of successes.
Yeah. Well, good. So your business is good, picking up.
Business is good, picking up. We had a great first quarter. We're just rolling into the second quarter, keep the momentum going.
Nice. Josh was going to be on a few weeks ago, but you got sick.
Yeah, I got that flu bug that came around. As I was telling you, a doctor threw me a note, said you're out till Thursday, and I had to figure out what the process was to hand in a note to my employer to be gone that long. That was interesting.
I got sick, 3 weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, and I actually came home on a Friday afternoon. Slept the whole day away, and then was able to get back Saturday. But I like seldom ever miss a day of work. I mean, I don't think I've missed like one, really. I don't get sick much, so it's unusual. And I think that's kind of what you're alluding to with you. It's unusual to miss a day.
Like everybody else, you get the sniffles now and then, but I haven't really had anything like this in a very long time. So
It was bad this year.
Yeah, it is. Do you get a flu shot?
I did not.
Did you get one, Brandon?
I did not. I didn't get sick either, though.
Well, good. Yeah, I don't get a flu shot either, and I didn't get sick. I haven't had a flu shot in years, and I've been able to avoid getting the flu. So what they say a lot of is don't touch your eyes, your hands to the face is the key thing, right? So
Stay away from your children.
yeah, that helps
Yes.
too. How old are your kids again, Josh? Remind me. I'm sorry.
My daughter's gonna be 9 in June, and
9
my
in
son is 5. So, but they never got it. I was the only one in the family, so apparently I was ground zero for this thing, and thankfully nobody else picked it up.
That's good. Mary, what is it? Anyway, I'm drawing a blank. And then how about you? How many kids do you guys have?
2 kids. We have a 15-year-old and a 9-year-old.
15 and 9. Okay.
Yeah, both boys.
Nice.
Yeah. And I'm usually the one that gets sick the last. But so I can see it literally go through. It always goes through a certain order through my kids and my wife, and then I'm like, okay, I'm next.
Well, it's good you're there, because if nobody takes care of them, there'll be nobody
Right.
to take
Yeah,
care of
right,
you.
Yeah, it is with the family. It's good to stress, stagger out the sickness.
Exactly.
You
No,
don't want
at the
everyone to be
same
sick
time.
at the same time.
Yep.
So Brandon, you're the proprietor, the founder of the Urban Hive here in
Yes.
Sacramento. So
Yeah.
tell us a bit about that.
Well, the Urban Hive is a co-working space, private office space. Basically what we do is we provide small companies, startups, entrepreneurs, a professional space to work and thrive. And so we do have a community of about a little over 300 people at the current main location on Alhambra, and which works out to about 140 different companies.
Okay.
And we have companies from here, we have companies from the Bay Area that have offices here. And basically what we do is we give them kind of a really cool company vibe with not necessarily the companies. If you're an entrepreneur, you can kind of come in. If you're a startup, you can come in and you can just plug into this amazing space, amazing vibe, amazing energy. And we provide all sorts of things. We provide meeting rooms, event space. We have events constantly happening almost every night of the week. We have something going on. We have beer. We have I always have to mention the beer at some point. But we have like four beers on tap. We have kombucha on tap. We have breakfast. We have and we do this Hive Well program, which includes meditation, includes massages, includes healthy foods and so forth, and now yoga. So
Nice.
so it's definitely you join the Urban Hive, and it's kind of a little bit of a lifestyle shift, but it's really, really good. And the great part about it is if you're running a company, all these things actually make you more productive.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So how long ago did you start it up?
9 years ago, if you can
Okay.
believe it. Yeah, 9 years ago. So 2009.
2009. And how
Yeah.
many people were there?
We were lucky to have one customer day one, but we
Okay.
had one customer day one. And actually, it's really funny. There's probably about 10 people that say they were the first member, and I'm like, okay, yeah, you're all for the first member. That's great. But yeah, we were very small for quite a while. It was really never seen as a it was a side hustle, if you will. So it was something that we did on the side, and it was a fun, cool thing to do with a really cool building that we had at that time. And we still have the building at 20th and H, and we still have offices and companies working out of there. But it was a way to use that building, and it sort of thrived and took off. And really, about 3 years ago, we decided, okay, this is going to be my main thing, and then soon it was my wife's main thing, and we traveled the world, looked at different spaces around the world, and we decided, hey, if we're going to do this, we're going to do this right. We raised some money, expanded, and we're where we are now.
Well, we're going to go to a commercial break. When we get back, I'd like to talk a little bit more about like the founding of it and what led to you deciding to do that. Have you seen it in other places and kind of the
Great.
growth of it?
Yeah,
So,
of course.
talking to Brandon Weber with the Urban Hive and also TEDx Sacramento. You're listening to Beyond the Numbers. We'll be right back.
Awesome. I will go have time for coffee. Grab coffee.
Yeah. I'll show you where it is. And then if you're not back in time, we'll start without you.
Okay, sounds good.
Great.
Less than 30.
Okay.
Don't make me go it alone.
Yeah, you think you do it, Josh. This is Brendan's. iHeartRadio too. We're back. You're listening to Beyond the Numbers on Money 105.5 FM, part of the Wall Street Business Network. Mark Bellows here, your host, a tax principal with Clifton Larson Allen in the Roseville office, and just getting through tax day, which, again, as we mentioned earlier, and as everyone's probably already seen, the IRS had a little snafu, so all of your data has been compromised, but, you know, it's okay. No, I'm just kidding, of course.
So, but most importantly, did that extend all of the free meals and free offers that restaurants were doing on
Right,
tax
on
day? Did
tax
they
day,
roll
yeah.
that into today as
Good
well?
question. I don't know. Maybe one of our listeners will have an idea for us and let us know. So 9 years ago you started, but it had to come from somewhere. So what made you decide to start the Urban Hive?
Yeah, so my wife and I were both part of an urban infill development company, a small company in town. We were developing about 9 projects at the time. We started these in the early 2000s. And if anybody here has been around a little while in Sacramento, you know what happened in around 2007, 2008.
The rest of the country.
And we were of an age where we've been buying up all the property, of course, in 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, and so we weren't one of some of these developers that had long histories of, you know, that could weather the storm, and it just blew us out. You know, all the property values went down 80%, and you know, we couldn't leverage them for the work that we were doing to build out new projects. And
Well, I'll tell you who really
Yeah.
weathered the storm were those who were not highly leveraged. Right?
Well, yeah,
That's-
exactly,
that killed every
yeah.
downturn in real estate.
Yeah,
Everybody's
yeah,
highly leveraged.
yeah. Which is a new developer's no way to do it other than that. Unless you have like a personal,
Yeah.
with personal fortune.
Yeah. Well, if you own all of New York.
Yeah, right,
that's
yeah,
a
something
start.
like that. So anyway, we had to make some shifts, and actually, my wife and I actually pulled out of the company for about a year at the time, And the founder of the company had reached out and he said, "Hey, listen, we're basically going to shut down the office finally, and do you have any ideas for something we could do with this?" I've just always been kind of an idea person. That was part of my role there. So we had actually done a blog post back in the day. We had a blog that was all around kind of urban living and downtown living before it was kind of a thing.
Right.
Walkable cities and so forth. And one of the things that we'd done a blog post about Citizen Space, which is a space in the Bay Area that had opened up and is basically a shared workspace. And the idea was like, hey, there were a few of these, a couple of these small companies that decide, hey, we're going to share a space together and work together, and then hey, we can share the conference room because we need a conference room, but we don't need it all the time. We need a kitchen, but we don't need it all the time, and printer and so forth. And all of a sudden, that 3 companies turned into 20 or 30 companies, and the blog post would just say, hey, someone should do this here. So when we think about something to do, we realized, hey, it was a really cool space, and my wife, for the development company, had actually done a lot of work to make sure it designed it and it looked really, really cool. And it really just was. I mean, you've been in the building.
Yeah.
It's still. We actually do have plans in the next month or so. We're going to launch, what we're going to be doing with that building. But it's always had a place in my heart. It's just this amazing space. You just kind of feel good when you go in it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's weird to say that about a building, but it just really, it really does have a feeling to it, a vibe. People always talk about the vibe. And so we have to use it. We have to do something with this. And plus, there was the owner of the building wanted to make sure to make it right with him because so I kind of jumped in. I actually met with the owner, and he had a big deal of it working because he said, hey, listen, let's try to figure this out. It was a really, really bad time in the market when nobody was renting anything.
Right.
So he didn't have a lot of options. We didn't have a lot of options. Like we figured it out, and we opened it up. We were really, I think that we were very, very lucky, blessed. We just had the right people join first, and we just started with some of the most amazing people in Midtown, downtown Sacramento. And it really became a really thriving community, and I mean the people are in leadership all over the city right now. And it's just kind of a cool thing.
Now, Brandon, I know with Urban Hive, you attract a lot of entrepreneurs and kind of startup businesses, but do you still have some of the clients that started 9 years ago? Do you have seasoned, successful businesses running through it? What's
Well,
the
we do.
clientele
Well, so we do, absolutely. We have people that now have, one of our companies. They've got 50 to 100 people around the country now, but he still actually has an office. He's one of the first people we let move into IO Labs downtown, and so the companies definitely grow, and some of them keep a footprint. A lot of them keep a membership. So a lot of times the company will grow. We really at Midtown. We could handle companies up to about 10 or 15. Now we can handle companies up to about 25.
Okay.
So we do have companies that are bigger. But at some point, they do outgrow that.
Yeah.
Hopefully, right? That's the goal. Then they continue with the membership, just to keep kind of connected. So they might not necessarily have their entire company there, but they work out of the space. We have lots of part-time options and so forth, so people can kind of come in. They can use the conference rooms and meeting rooms and so forth.
Now, a lot of, what I hear one of the benefits is a lot of the innovation that goes on, as companies talk to other companies, bounce ideas off of each other. Can you tell us a little bit about the dynamic of kind of what's going on in the room?
Yeah, so this is something that they've discovered in other cities and so forth. We're a little slow to the uptake on this, but there is something about just being in people's space, right? Like being around people all the time and just having sort of a serendipitous interactions, what I think Sheryl Sandberg calls it, right? The ability to kind of just run into each other and have questions or talk about something. We had, a perfect example, one person was just grabbing a coffee and was telling me that they were selling off, a portion of their company, and they were selling sizable, a couple $1 million. They were selling off a portion of their company, but they had never done this yet. And the company was wanting to be acquired, and they were trying to get not get rid of him, but just sort of get some people off the cap table and so forth. And so he was trying to figure out that deal, and we just happened to have a venture partner with one of the larger funds in the Bay Area that's also a member, and he was right there, and I said, well, talk to him, and they ended up talking for like an hour and a half. And the member swears it's probably saved them six figures just being able to have a conversation with somebody that was able to help them and know that how do you get that meeting like that? Does that make sense? In a short time? It's not those things just don't happen like that. But there's just all sorts of things. Someone could be using a certain kind of software to try to get this done, and someone puts it on even on our online community, like, hey, what have you guys used? What has worked for you? And then also these conversations happen, and so people are just dealing with some of the same things that other people are dealing with. We've got an event coming up that's aimed toward leaders, entrepreneurial leaders, and it's actually really cool. About 75% of the attendees are from the greater Bay Area. And we have leaders from Y Combinator, which is a big accelerator in the Bay Area. We have one of the founding partners of WooFoo. All these founders that are coming in, and the whole point of the thing is to have very real conversations, authentic conversations. It's not like speak from a podium like with the TED events, but it's really kind of more those real interactions. And I feel like I'm rambling here.
So when is that event?
That's actually this Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah, it's called Elevate. If you go to our events page on Facebook, or our main page, which will take you to the Facebook page, you can check that out. So I think that there's maybe like 2 or 3 spots left. But yeah, that's
okay.
Yeah,
so it's filling up quick.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's good. It'll be good.
Good.
Yeah. That's exciting. So have you had an event like that before? This is the first time?
Oh, we do events all the time. We have, so in fact, we were just looking at the calendar. We have events straight from, I believe, now through next Saturday. Like every night except for Sunday, we have an event. Yeah. So we have stuff going all the time. We have arts events. So the new space. I should talk about the new space.
Yeah. So you were at 20th and H.
Yeah. So we're 20th and H, about a 7,000 square foot space. Yep. We're now in a double size at 14,000 square feet over in Mark Friedman's property, Fulcrum Properties, over at the Alhambra and Stockton, which is the cannery.
Okay.
Right there is the spectacular old brick cannery that at some point had been turned into like 1980s offices, and Fulcrum has been kind of taking it over and gutting them and making them very, very, very cool. And worked with HGA Architects in town, and MTA Furnishing Company, and just the space is really spectacular. I don't think there's a cooler office space in town.
Is it mostly open? Is that
so we do both. Okay. So as you say, companies get to a point where they oftentimes do feel that they need office space, and so forth. So we do have offices, and we have in our space, our building downtown, which is another conversation, but we're going to have mostly offices. This space, we've got about 25 offices, but we have a lot of open space in the Alhambra project, in the cannery project, and it's just wide open, gorgeous. Yeah, the urbanhive.com, you're going to go and you're going to see some of the photos. The photos don't do it justice. It turned out better than, I'll be honest, it turned out better than expected. And what we're talking about, the Midtown thing, about going into a building and feeling good. Right? There's something about, I think one of the things that we try to do differently, like our whole model is, whatever we're doing with our clients, with our team, with our city, is that we're constantly trying to serve them, right? And so that's the way. So if we're going to serve you and you're going to come to our space, the best thing is for you to want to be there. And it seems like the simplest thing, but I don't think a lot of co-working spaces do that. It's like, okay, here's some tables, here's this, here's the printer, here's this, and there you go.
We'll bill you monthly,
there you go.
And away we go.
Yeah, and really try to create a space that you want to be. And so we were concerned because our members loved us so much and loved the building so much in Midtown, and it was almost traumatic to kind of say, hey, we're moving, and there's still some lingering trauma. So we knew that the space had to deliver. It couldn't. It had to deliver, and I really feel that thankfully we brought some amazing people in that really helped us deliver a space that's just off the charts. And one of the amazing people is obviously I put a shout out to my wife who ran the whole design side of what we did. And it's just a really beautiful space.
And you guys still have openings at the new space, correct?
We have the wait list for our offices, which pretty much we've had a wait list on our offices since 3 months before opening. Okay. But stuff does open up, and then we do have some offices that have opened up in Midtown, and we're expanding the cannery project into another phase. Which will add more offices, and then we also have the project that we're working on downtown, the IO Labs project, which is at 7th and J, and we currently have 3 floors under construction there, and we have one floor completed, and that's basically full. I think we have one space right now that's available there, but But level 4 will come on, and there'll be about 25 offices there, and then about another 20 on level 3.
7th and J.
It's the old Crocker Bank building.
Yeah,
It's right
Good
across the
job.
street. 24 Fitness. They put a golden one in there. It's right across from the arena there.
Yeah, I figured it was right by the arena. So
lot of action down there, which is it's kind of cool.
So
Even just since we started the project, it's it's been by the way, learning that going through a project with a historic building is an interesting
different set of things.
is an interesting thing. Yeah.
So is that all offices? Going to be all offices?
So
downtown?
no. So the fifth floor, which we actually are launching right now, level 5. We've already started having events there. Level 5 is basically designed as kind of a founders lounge, gathering space, if you will, kind of taking the best of what we've done with the Urban Hive, but really expanding the community. So it's targeted. It's basically it's a space where we can connect the entrepreneurs, the ideators, the people who are doing really interesting, cool projects in towns, the software companies and so forth that are getting started, with the people that have the expertise, the people that have the expertise, the people that have the talent and connections, and sometimes whether that's financial, political, and a lot of times just able to fund some of these projects. So a lot of times there are investors looking for great things to invest in.
Right.
There are startups looking for investors, and sometimes they just need to meet.
Just walk across the
road. What you had in the coffee.
And likewise, there are young, amazing leaders that are coming up right now. That just need to be kind of connected to the people who are currently in seats of power and influence in town. So it's going to be about connecting all those people.
Excellent. We're taking a break.
Sorry.
You listen to me on the numbers. We'll be back in a minute.
No, I've been.
Did it seem to make sense? I'm like, I know I'm on right now. Hi.
Well, no, it
Because I'm going from one project to another.
I
So
saw the 5th floor meeting room. I participated in the Asian Chamber of Commerce internal study
fantastic.
mission,
Yes.
and we kicked off the whole 2-day extravaganza there in your offices.
It looks better now. That was before it's furnished.
Yes,
It
we were
wasn't
all folding
furnished.
chairs.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I think it was mostly kitchen, but
Mhm.
huge meeting. Love that you kept just, the concrete brick integrity of the building, and then you just look out the window and it's like, oh.
Yeah, that was a fight. Molly had that fight. Yeah, there's actually a really great photo that I can't believe they pulled through all because you can actually see in the photo, you see the Sawyer in one window and the arena in the other window. I mean, let's talk about just being right there.
Yeah,
It's really, really amazing. But yeah, so that area, that's really more of a lounge. It's really not as much a co-working space. So the idea is that I can talk more about it. People who are members there have their companies elsewhere. Does that make sense? Because we don't want to be like, oh, you're a VC. I'm sorry, you have to be headquartered here in order to operate out of here. So the idea is to have events and so forth that bring these communities together constantly.
Oh, it's a great concept, and I know it's helped a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, and that's the service sort of thing is I think it was Daniel Pink that said, if your product or what you create, makes one person's life better, you've made the world better in a way, right? So that is, and that's kind of our goal, and I really do feel that that the city has changed because of those relationships, and those people are pouring into each other, and it's just crazy to see.
Well, and it's a relationship town.
Yeah,
You've just
it totally
encapsulated
is.
it into a space and let it do its thing.
Yeah. Well, it's like if you take social media and you put it into human form, all the crap of social media is gone, right?
Yeah.
When you're talking to somebody and it's and you're real people, then that's cool.
Good.
Yeah, it's fun. But yeah, so that's what we're doing now.
Lots going on.
Yeah, too bad. Well, because the downtown project was supposed to be before the cannery.
Oh.
And so now they're kind of coming on just at the same time, and it's just like
Well, life was perfect to be boring.
right.
You gotta keep
Well,
it
then
interesting.
we're clearing out the midtown. Sometimes we need to do something with mid. You know what I'm saying? Like it's sort of a weird way. Like there's one thing. It's like three things at once. Thankfully, we have the momentum of it's not like we're starting from. It's not like we're going from zero.
Right.
So that's very, very helpful, and we're right now we're month over month right now. Just this month we're already 40% growth over last month. So it's just like
Wow.
we're growing, which is good.
That's good. Yeah.
We just need to get enough of the space kind of lined up to match those demands. But and I think it's something like for people to know too, like startups and small companies, you know, like, I mean, these are really beautiful spaces. I mean, they're not, you know, they're not like the funky cheap office to, you know, because a lot of these people, you know, they need a place to bring VCs in. They need a place, you know, for a lot of our members. I you know, for a lot of, I always say, you know, people, our average member is not a 19-year-old coder. You know, that's not our average member. Our average member is the CEO or founder of a company, and they're like 34 and they have a house in East Sac. You know what I'm saying? That's it's just a different kind of, you know, they're on, a lot of them are on their second startup, or maybe they work with Intel or something, and now they're doing their startup.
Right.
And so it's just kind of a different mentality, I think, that people kind of sometimes think of what co-working spaces are. Yeah.
And we're back. You listen to Beyond the Numbers on Money 105.5. Mark Bellows here, co-host Josh Corell of Tri-Counties Bank, and our guest today, Brandon Weber, Brandon with the Urban Hive, theurbanhive.com, and also Sacramento.io,
Yep.
right? And then TEDxSacramento.com, which we'll talk about a little bit briefly. So, real quick, it's something interesting we're talking about during the break is like, give us an idea who the members are. I mean, it's like you're saying, it's not necessarily the 19-year-old coder.
Right. Yeah. So I do explain that most of our the members of our space are, you know, they are people who are building companies. They're at a stage where they're building. They're kind of past the ideation stage when they're moving into our the new location, the Cannery. These are people who have made a big commitment. Maybe they're jumping from a career. Maybe they're leaving Intel to start their tech startup, or maybe they're starting a consulting business. You know, but they're coming in and they're committed to what they're doing. They know what they're doing. It's not this sort of thing where people are just kind of coming in, wandering around aimlessly, looking to, you know, the word is entrepreneurs, right? You know, there are a lot of people that you know are out there, and I think it's important to be. That's an important stage.
Yes.
Because if you don't have any entrepreneurs, you'll never have any entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah.
You know, so this is not to denigrate that, but the reality is where we really focus on are people who have made a commitment. They're moving forward. They're doing their project. Sometimes it is a side hustle. I mean, we do have people that, you know, hey, they're maybe still at their 9-to-5 job, but they're doing their startup on the side. We actually have a membership for that at the Cannery when people just come in the evenings or whatnot. But it still gives them. It's interesting when they make that kind of commitment to the space and so forth. It actually a lot of times it helps them organize and get to that next stage. So in other words, they're now going into a new office, if you will, a new workspace. So all of a sudden you start walking in the door and they start thinking differently. When they walk in the door, they start thinking about that project. So it even works for people with the side hustle, but for the most part, most of our members, you know, they're digging in, they're doing what they're doing, and they're reasonably successful and growing pretty quickly too.
So how does a business owner get on the wait list?
So, well, one, you don't have to be on the wait. I was talking about offices. So we do have memberships available.
Okay.
We definitely still have memberships available. We design the
explain
space.
a little bit how it works. People can be members. They can rent
Exactly.
space.
Great. Yeah. So I mean, and it does come down there. You're all members, right? Even if you have an office space. Just some of the memberships come with desks. Some come with offices. Yeah. So we have everything from our starter membership is around $150 a month. It gives you a certain amount of credits toward conference room usage or workspace. It's kind of like somebody who just, you know, maybe they're working out of the house. They come in and they have a place to have professional meetings. It's not a coffee shop. And they can be taken a little bit more seriously because of a professional address. It's not, you know, 1238743 something way. Right.
And as you mentioned, it's a nice space.
Yeah, and it really
nice
is.
space.
It really is. So that we always say that the people come in for the stuff that they're going to get, but they really stick around. And so that's kind of our way to get them in. I'll be honest with you. And then once they start working there, they usually want to expand their membership. They want to be there more often because they start meeting the other members and seeing how dynamic the people are, how dynamic the space is. And it really is. I mean, you bring a client into a space like that, and the first thing is like, wow, what's this? You know, so. It's a cool thing, and it says, I think it's one of those things that says something about our members as well, you know. So it's you know, it's kind of like when people used to drive Priuses, right? You know, would like say something about them. I don't know how I feel about Priuses, but I'm just putting it out, you know. But there is something, right? That there is something that it ties that to them. So I think it says something a little bit about them. It says that they're innovative. It says that they're forward thinking, and honestly, it probably says that they're successful as well. So it's a good message to have.
Well, it sounds like they share a lot of the same values and business practices.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we do say that. So we do have all kinds of businesses. I think that, we are about a third, maybe more, of designers and creatives and writers and so forth. About another third of tech companies and startups and coders and so forth. And then less than maybe 25% of the membership is just anything else. I mean, we do have we have CPAs, we have attorneys, we have realtors. I mean, all those things. There's probably one or two of each. It's not a ton, but again, we're over 300 people there. So there really is an incredible community of all sorts of different kinds of people. Yeah.
So if someone came to you and said, "I'm looking for space," or "I'm looking for a co-working space," something like that, I mean, how would you steer me towards the canyon or towards downtown? Or is there really no?
Well, there definitely is a difference. I mean, the Midtown thing, the downtown thing, with the downtown project, we are definitely finding there are just people who are downtown people, and there are people who aren't. So that's a big part of it.
Gotcha.
A downtown is so. We have two things going on. So we have some fellowship programming and so forth that we're doing as part of the nonprofit work. But part of how we pay for that is we have these awesome kick-ass office spaces, and they're not cheap downtown. I'm just going to put that out there.
Well,
I mean, they're
Seventh and J is pretty good.
Yeah, it's an incredible location.
Yeah.
You're at ground zero,
yeah.
and I'm going to tell you, there really isn't a nicer office that you could get as a small company like that without signing a 7-year lease somewhere.
Right, yeah.
And when you do that, you're not going to be able to get an office these sizes often. You have to take something bigger than you want. Because here's my thing: it's like, what company now is forming that is going to be the same size in 5 or 10 years? Right? I mean, especially with startups, right? You're either going to be out of business, and there's a good chance you will be. I mean, honestly, there's a good chance you will be because but there's also a chance that you're going to be 10, 100 times the size.
Yeah.
So maybe 1,000 times the size, right?
Yeah.
So it does seem it seems a little antiquated the way we do things now, and so we kind of fill that gap as like, hey, listen, you still want the nice office space that you can bring clients, that you can live in, that you can work in a beautiful space, but you don't have to make that big huge leap, or maybe you just can't at this point. Because your company's not stable enough to where you're going to get that 7-year lease in a Class A building.
Right, or how much of your capital is absorbed.
Yeah,
for that
exactly.
payment.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So, have other communities come to you for guidance or consultation in terms of some of the other communities around saying, "Hey, I see what you're doing. Can you help us get this going in our community?"
All the time, yeah, and we do definitely try to help. In fact, I was just I think we're talking a little bit. I was at the TED headquarters this past week, and I met another TEDx organizer who was forming a co-working space in her city, and she got a little excited. She knew our brand, and so we were able to talk and so forth. But yeah, really, it's interesting because I feel like co-working is the term co-working. It's very hot right now, but I feel like it's almost going to become unnecessary in a very short time. It's just kind of almost a way of working, right? Mm-hmm. That there's enough companies that are changing, redesigning their offices. I mean, real estate companies are, looking more like co-working spaces now. And a lot of Fortune 500 companies are designing their spaces to look like co-working spaces now.
Right.
So it's kind of funny. So I think it's just going to be kind of their communities. But I do think they're having a massive effect globally right now, and it's cool to be part of that.
And you've gotten recognition.
We've been it really, even since early on, even at our Midtown location, we were often in like the top 50 in spaces in the world, in the country or whatnot. We've got a number of those lists. But with the new space, we've gotten on a couple of new lists. One is Paste Magazine, which is an East Coast magazine. In fact, CNN used to do Paste Picks, which is like the cool hot things that are going on. And they ranked us I think we were number 4 on their list. But
congratulations.
One of the top 25 co-working spaces. And then Skillshare, which doesn't have a really big presence in Sacramento, but is a pretty well-known entity now. It's a tech company, but basically what they do is they connect people with different skills, and they share them online and in person. They did their top 10 favorite co-working spaces around the world, and they chose our space, which is nice. And they actually chose it as the best in the world for creatives.
Wow.
So it's kind of cool in Sacramento, right? And it's weird to say this because but it's sort of easy for me to brag because so much of what we are is our people. Does that make sense? So it's like you're like bragging on the people you love and the community you love. And there really is something different. I mean, Molly and I, as I said, when we were deciding whether, hey, are we going to, we really were at a point where like, okay, either we're not going to do this anymore, or we're going to go all in. It can't any longer. We don't have enough time for this to be like a side project any longer, because it's become too big of a project to be a side project. So we're like, okay, is this what we're going to do? And part of that was we did a lot of travel and around the country, around the world, and really checked out some amazing, beautiful spaces. And we found some spaces that were bigger, more beautiful than our original location in Midtown. But none of them really equated with the sort of the kind of community and the kind of relationships that our members have. I mean, people, they come in and it becomes a source for, you know, their closest 10 or 15 friends often are other community members within the Urban Hive. And it's just a really cool, powerful thing. And then obviously people end up hiring people. We had one startup that was moving from a development stage to a sales stage, and they had 5 developers, and they were going to have to hire like 5 salespeople, and they were like worried about what they're going to do with the developers. We had another tech company that was across the hall that was expanding their engineering team, and they were able to take over all of their engineers and the office. So literally they stayed in the same desk, in the same office, just worked for a different company.
Wow.
So, I mean, like, that's the sort of stuff, and I actually think that's the sort of stuff that, you know, San Francisco and Silicon Valley benefit from already. There's already that sort of thing. And it's kind of when you get those little tastes of those sort of things, you know, we're trying to, we don't have the benefit of having that in the whole city. Does that make sense? Like, you're in South of Market, you're in the coffee line, and people are talking about buying companies and selling, you know, and we're getting their startup off the ground. It's just natural. It's all around. In Sacramento, we're not there yet. So you have to be in spaces where other people are talking like that.
That's what people get from being a member in your space.
Yeah, and we're kind of concentrating it. Yeah.
Well, we are going to go to commercial break. When we get back, we'll continue the conversation with Brandon Weber, founder of, with his wife Molly, of the Urban Hive, and excited in their new space and got some stuff going on downtown. We'll be right back.
Awesome.
Always flies.
Yeah.
Let's say I got a text from Roland. He wants to know if he should call in.
He could. Does he know the number?
Who is this?
I got with Roland Gillen with Warren G. Bender Insurance.
Oh, right on.
We
Cool.
know
Awesome. Right on.
One of our guys on Facebook asked, "Does parking get discussed by potential clients and visitors? Are they concerned about parking?" I would imagine downtown.
Downtown, it's downtown. You know, I mean, you know, it's one of those things. It's like Sacramento is no longer that town.
Yeah.
It just isn't. Where you're gonna have like free parking all over the place, because there's cool stuff downtown. So it's like that like. I think it was somebody at the Downtown Partnership told me, and I apologize if it wasn't them that said this, but it's a great thing to say. So they said, wouldn't it be awful to live in a city where people didn't want to be there in the park? You know, like, I mean, it's kind of it's an interesting problem to have. You know,
it is.
But at the cannery we have loads of parking. I mean, it's you know, it's paid a lot, but you know, again, downtown.
Well, I mean,
Midtown,
there
this
is
is
a
just how
parking
everything is.
structure attached to the 7th and J building.
Yeah, there are 3 garages within a block.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are 3 garages in a block. There's plenty of parking, and that really is, you know, the decision to kind of go with that space, to go for the people who have offices there, to go high end. It was also that, you know, that it just was realizing that, hey, if somebody's paying for parking, it's just gonna be a different client down there than maybe at Midtown or.
But that's always been, you know, the Sacramento fight as we grow.
Yeah,
it's like
right.
We want to be the big city, and then they're like,
Yeah,
3
exactly
blocks
right.
away.
Yeah.
We're back. You're listening to Beyond the Numbers on Money 105.5. I'm Mark Bellows, my co-host Josh Corell, and our guest today, Brandon Weber. So we've been talking about the Urban Hive, their exciting new move into this space in the cannery. When did that open up?
Just in December, if you can believe it.
Wow.
We've only been there for about a little over 3.5 months.
3.5 months. And there are still memberships, and there's still...
Yeah, we start. We're
opportunities
definitely. Yeah, there's definitely opportunities to join right now. And
What kind of
amazing.
kombucha do you have on tap?
I have no idea right now. Yeah, no, we change it every week. So
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's a different one every week. It's
Then what
fun.
kind of beer is on tap?
I'm not sure. That I feel bad actually now that I know the brewery, because we do get sponsored by the breweries, but I'm not sure what we have on tap right now. I'm not drinking enough beer apparently.
Apparently not.
Yeah,
You have to go to find
and I've been gone for a week, so you know
Yeah.
things have changed. I'm sure.
So you've been gone for a week because you're in New York.
I was in New York,
and
yeah.
TED event.
Yeah,
So do you want to
yeah.
talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. So TED, Technology and Entertainment Design Conference, happens once a year. I've been involved for many years, and you know, really kind of before it was TED. I mean, it was really started off as an event, and I got I think at the time they were probably a team of maybe 7-10 people. And they reached out to me because a bunch of us were doing. They'd already put their talks online, but they'd only put maybe a couple dozen online at that time. And there were a number of people that were doing events and gatherings, and we did at the old Midtown offices. We would do a little. We did TED Talk Tuesdays. We'd come in early in the morning on a Tuesday, and then some people didn't want to go too early, so we did lunch with TED Wednesdays. And we all come. We just watch TED Talks. We just watch TED Talks, and we have conversations. And for those of you who have never seen a TED Talk, go to TED.com. You'll dig in. Just watch one. Just choose one, and you'll go down a rabbit hole, and you'll see all sorts of things. They're talks that just really get you thinking. You see technologies before anybody else has seen them. Really, what they do is they choose the people at the absolute. They're not. People sometimes think of them as like these famous, well-known people.
Right.
They're usually really well-known in their industry. They're only well-known to everybody else because of the TED Talk. Oftentimes, so they give the TED Talk, and now it gets out there, and people now know that person. But a lot of times, these are scientists. These are not professional speakers. They're at the top of their field, and they're sharing with you what they're working on, and it's really an incredible thing. So I got an email in 2008 that said, "Hey, would you, hey, tell us about your gatherings, what's working." That conversation with a number, it wasn't just us, obviously, there was a number of, probably about 30 of us around the country that were having these conversations with TED. And they said, let's start TEDx, which is sort of an offshoot of TED. And the idea was that we were all going to have different events, and they really didn't have a formula for it at the time. They said, hey, just do stuff and tell us about it, and we'll license you. I became officially licensed through TED. And I believe I'm probably one of the 3 longest licensed TEDx curators in the world. And we started a little community. Our first event ended up being, at this point now we had opened up the Hive, and our first event was with beer and wine, a milk crate with a projector and a tripod screen.
Awesome.
And about 50 people showed up, and it was a really good time. It was really fun. We watched all the talks. We had great conversation. And then USC did an event, and they did it it was a full-on TED event, world-class speakers and so forth. And so I think a lot of the other TEDx people were like, oh, okay, all right. So now we need to up our game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so over the years, we definitely upped our game. I really have to say, this is one of those things that people are often surprised. So Sacramento, we have, I believe right now we're the largest, if not one of the largest TEDx communities in all of North America. This says a lot about our city. And it says that there are a lot of intellectually curious people in this town. And so anyway, it was really cool. So we've expanded that, and now our event is held. We have a big event, which is only held probably about once every 2 or 3 years. Then we do a really big event that's about 2,200 people. And the speakers that we bring in are insane. We brought in the chief engineer for SpaceX, the founder of Hyperloop. And we bring in some really amazing people. Many of our speakers have gone on to speak on the main stage of TED. It's a really cool thing. A lot of people don't realize that happens in our city because our community it's usually invite only. Once you go, you get re-invited. But there usually are still we usually have people join our list. So it's at TEDxSacramento.com. There's not much there, but to be able to join the list right now because we're in between events. But get on that list, and we will let you know as events come up. Our plan this year.
I've got it too.
Yeah.
One at the community center, the most recent one, I think.
Yeah, that's one of the big ones. Yeah. So what did you think?
What did you think? I thought it was great.
I
think that's a Hyperloop.
That was where he was. Yeah. So
that was great.
He was at launch, one of the biggest tech events in the Bay Area. And 6 months later. So it was kind of cool.
I thought that was great. My wife and I went to that, and then a buddy and I went to the one at the Wells Fargo Pavilion.
Oh yeah. So it was a few years before that. Yeah. That was about 1,500 people, I think.
It's a great event. It's just so fascinating.
It's really tough in Sacramento to grow from 500 to 2,200. There's not much in between. I mean, as far as venues, there's just really not much. If you remember what we did with Wells Fargo, we had to kind of make it work because that round it's a very great place and great people to work with. But the community center theater is probably a little bigger than I would like it. I mean, it's bigger than the main TED. It's almost silly, but you also don't want to fill it halfway, right?
Right.
I feel like a good 1,200 person event is perfect, but we don't have that venue. So yeah. But
There's
yes,
opportunity
yeah,
there.
yeah. But
So
it's
you
very
work
rewarding.
at
Yeah. So so I was just there. It was really awesome. I spent about a week with about 500 other TEDx organizers from around the world. It's really interesting. You put some people with such different backgrounds and so forth, but there's just sort of this unifying, like I said, that sort of intellectual curiosity that there's enough that you have in common. That it's really just some of the most amazing people from around the world getting together, and it's a really, really cool, beautiful thing. Yeah, and we stream the main TED event, so I'm not going to a live main TED event this year. I will be summer of next year. But this was just mainly the TEDx organizers getting together with about a third of the TED staff holds back in New York, and it's we all hang out and watch the TED Talks live, and they're being streamed basically.
So what were some of the topics this year?
There are some mind-boggling. So we were doing. You were asking. We're doing a really small event, and I'm pretty sure it's already sold out. We just mostly invited people who have already been to our previous events because the reason we do that is because someone's never been to one of our events and they show up at a 40-person event. They're like, I don't understand what's going on.
Yeah.
So it's just better to have our community that comes in there. But we just chose some of our best talks to just kind of get together and have beer and eat and for a day, and it's gonna be a cool thing. But yeah, some amazing talks on AI. There is a mind-bending talk on modifications of body and technology modifications. That is just, it's pretty insane.
Now, is that up on the TED website?
Oh no, so the TED Talk, so a TED conference comes from one, they don't all make it online.
Okay.
And then the rest of them, that's what they do for the whole year, right? Like they have this one event,
right,
and you're seeing TED Talks come up every day for the year, or occasionally throughout the year. So some of these talks you won't see for 10 months.
Gotcha.
So in fact, I think they usually post like one or two. I think they post like maybe one a week. So there's like a couple already up.
Okay.
But yeah, for the most part, they don't have any. So that's kind of the fun, cool thing that we'll be able to share with our community.
Yeah.
It's just some of the really cool stuff that they're doing. Yeah. But I mean, really, it really was. And again, it was not. You didn't come and there weren't like rock star speakers. Last year they had the Pope, so that was kind of that was a pretty big deal. It was like and we didn't know who it was. It was like the surprise. We had a surprise speaker, and it ended up being the Pope. But this year we didn't have the Pope. But I mean, again, it's fighting. When you look through the list, you go, you know what? I don't know any of these people except for maybe a few of them, a few authors and so forth. That Steven Pinker was one of the speakers who I'm a big fan of. But the reality is that you're going to be blown away by them because they are the top of their field, and it's really an interesting, cool thing.
And it's a wide range of topics.
It's a wide range of topics, yeah. So, I mean, so it's not just technology, by the way. It really is all sorts of different sort of subject matters, yeah.
T-E-D.
Those were, technology, and it's really beyond that. And everybody thinks it's technology education design, by the way. It's technology entertainment design.
Yeah.
But it's, and we actually, and that's one thing I think we do really well at our TEDx Sacramento. We entertainment is a big part of it. People are so surprised because they're always sharing talks, they're never sharing performances. Right, so they're always surprised to walk in, and we usually start the event with a cold start with like the ballet or some really cool thing. People are like, wait, what? And it's like, no, that's a part of it, and that's what makes the conference really, really special. Are these kind of musical and entertainment interludes with some very interesting, cool people.
Well, the entertainment factor is a big driver for a lot of downtown communities and urban communities. That's a big part of what they do.
Absolutely.
It's a big part of what draws people downtown.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep. You need to have that.
Very much.
Which Sacramento's getting more of, for sure, so as we grow. Well, we've been talking with Brandon Weber. Brandon's with the Urban Hive, theurbanhive.com, and sacramento.io, and then tedxsacramento.com.
Yeah.
So it's been great having you on the show.
And the best way to reach us is go through the urbanhive.com website. It's probably the easiest way to get a hold of us.
Okay. And so what's the downtown space called? Is that the IO Lab?
IO Labs is the building, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and so right now we have 3 floors under construction, 1 floor completed. We have, and last time I told you, one of the floors is in design. There's actually still some people on the floor, but we have at least, and we're in the design phase right now. And then we have options on 2 floors and first right on another 2 floors. So the hope is to have a very large footprint there, but we'll have a minimum of 3 floors here in the coming 6 months to a year,
including a fifth floor space.
Yeah, so level 5, which is that community of entrepreneurs and Sacramento leaders and so forth. Yeah.
That's great. Well, Brandon, thank you for being on the show and being a part of this today. Appreciate it.
Great,
Good seeing you again.
Appreciate
Welcome
Thanks
back.
for having me.
Josh, thanks for being here today. Everyone,
my pleasure.
Thanks for listening in. We'll be back next week with Beyond the Numbers.
All right, that goes so fast. It's so weird.
Well, it's interesting you talk about only three. I mean, it's only what, a 7-floor building?
What?
It's
Yeah.
only a 7-floor building. You keep saying, oh, you got only 3 floors. Well, half of